October, Emily Dodd had flu so badly that she nearly died of it. For 10 days she tossed and turned from one tangled nightmare to another, trying to escape from 2 men in raincoats, who she knew must never catch her, though she could not remember why. "Don't let them in," she moaned. "Don't open the door." "Hush, it's all right, my pet," her father said softly. "Lie still. Don't move, little Emily." As she shut her eyes, she seemed to hear the soft whisper of charcoal on paper. He was drawing her again, but she was too ill to care. She was glad in her brief waking moments to see him always there on the chair by her bed, his small bright eyes intent upon her face. "I don't know how you can, Ben," her mother was saying when Emily woke. "It seems sort of heartless to me. Anyway, who'd want to buy it? A sick child? It's hardly cheerful, is it?" Mr. Dodd sighed heavily. Emily knew what that sigh meant. It meant he was an artist and had a mind above money, unlike his wife and his daughter and his small son, who complained because they couldn't have a new telly or proper holidays or new clothes. "Whatever my faults, at least I'm true to my talent, to my art." Whenever he said that, Emily and her brother Tim would scowl, for they didn't care a button for his art, only wished he'd get a proper job so their mother wouldn't have to go to work at the factory. So now, when her mother said she would get their tea, Emily felt well enough to say angrily, "Mum's tired. She's been working. You get the tea, Dad." "That sounds more like my little Emily," said her father. "I'm not your little Emily," she said furiously. "I'm 12. "Ah, but you're small for your age," he said, with what he obviously thought was a winning smile. People often told her how charming her father was. She didn't find him so, not any longer. Once she'd been happy just to be with him, washing his brushes, cleaning his palette, posing for him until she itched all over with suppressed fidgets. She'd not minded that they were often poor, when they seemed at other times so rich. Whenever Mr. Dodd sold a painting, he would come home laden with champagne, smoked salmon, grapes, and silly, pretty presents for her and Tim. "Oh, Ben," her mother would say, "I do wish you wouldn't. What about the rent and the electricity bill?" But her father would just laugh and say that life would be too dull without a little celebration now and then. "Don't worry," he'd say. "I'm rich today. Just leave the bills to me." And when the electricity was cut off, so they had to have cold tomato soup by candlelight, he would tell them ghost stories and try to make them laugh, and promised he would pay the bill the very next day. But now, when he bought Emily presents, she would look at them coldly and ask, "How much did that cost?" "Oh, Emily, it's pretty. You'll look lovely in it." A stupid white dress, all frills and tucks and green ribbons. "I hate it. I won't wear it." But she had, of course. "What a cross little face," he was saying now. "What about a smile for your dear old Dad?" "Leave me alone!" she screamed. "Goodness," said her father, losing patience. "It's high time you were back at school." The doctor wouldn't hear of it. "She is suffering from post-influenzal depression. She needs building up. A change of air. You haven't got any relatives at the seaside, have you?" "No." "Pity." "I'll have to see what I can do," said Mr. Dodd. "I'm sure I can manage something. Dorset. How would you like 10 days by the sea, Emily? Just you and me?" Emily looked at him stonily. Did he imagine she was going to thank him? What had happened to the week in Weymouth last year, not to mention the cottage in Devon the year before? "Where's the money going to come from?" asked her mother when she heard about it. "Oh, don't you worry your pretty little head about that. Just leave it to me," he said. "Have you sold a painting, Ben?" asked Mrs. Dodd. "Well, I haven't actually sold it yet, but, well, things are moving in the right direction, you might say, and I've a little business on hand." "What business?" "Oh, a little bit of this and that," said Mr. Dodd evasively. "Well, we'll have to see," said Mrs. Dodd. Emily wondered uneasily what her mother suspected. It wasn't the bills, they'd all been paid last week. It was something else. Her father was up to something. Emily wished she knew what. Down at the bottom of her mind, a voice kept saying, "Where did he get the money for this holiday?" A few days later, Emily and her father walked along the windy seafront of Swanham Bay, beneath a cold grey sky and beside a cold grey sea. Most of the small shops were already boarded up for the winter, which gave the place a desolate air. They were glad to return to the hotel. The Fairview Hotel did not live up to its name. It was in a side street and faced onto a terrace of similar small hotels, all wearing striped blinds like medal ribbons from past summers. "What about a game of draughts?" said Mr. Dodd. He was bored already, thought Emily. "Go and have a drink if you like, Dad. I'll be all right." "No, I like being with you. Oh, by the way, I wonder if you'd mind amusing yourself tomorrow afternoon. I've got something to attend to." "What? Where are you going?" I have to see a man in Bournemouth." "I'll come with you. Why can't I?" "Oh, it's business, Emmy. You'd be bored." "I wouldn't. I'm bored here." "No, I'm sorry, Emily," he said firmly. At that moment a boy came in with a basket of logs, which he set down beside the fire. "Ah, what have we here?" said Mr. Dodd. "Do I really see someone under 100 years old?" "Dad!" said Emily, embarrassed. "Sorry, mister. Was you talking to me?" "Oh, just saying how nice it is to see a young face. What's your name, lad?" "Kevin." "Look, Kevin, you finish this game for me and I'll buy you both a Coke." He was gone before either of them could reply. Emily looked at the boy properly and saw that he was about her own age, with a broad gypsy face and curling black hair. In one ear he wore a gold ring. "I got work to do," he said. "Don't let me stop you," she said coldly. Emily stared resentfully towards the bar. What was her father up to? "I thought I heard something about a Coke," said Kevin. "Did you? I don't remember." He laughed. "Oh, you're a proper little liar. How old would you be? 10? 12, said Emily crossly. "And if you say I'm small for my age, you'll be smaller by a head, so just watch it." "Oh, that be fighting talk, Titch." "Still, I bain't a giant myself exactly. I'm 13. Emily realised for the first time that he was not much bigger than she was. It gave her an idea. "You wouldn't do me a favour, would you?" The boy looked wary. "I might have knowed. Well, I want to borrow an old anorak or a coat, just for tomorrow. You can have it back in the evening." Mr. Dodd walked jauntily away from the Fairview Hotel with the air of a schoolboy unexpectedly let off for the day. A little way further back followed a small figure who had been waiting around for 15 minutes. The small figure was wearing jeans, a jacket, a grey knitted balaclava helmet, and racing goggles. Now a third figure came out of a side entrance to the hotel and sauntered casually in the rear. The three figures walked one after another. None of them looked behind. 5 minutes later, Mr. Dodd settled down to wait at the bus stop. Emily felt uncommonly foolish as she stared at some fishing rods in a convenient shop window. She was about to give up her mission when a boy in a red woolen cap and sunglasses said in a hissing whisper, "Come on!" Dragging her round the corner, he set off down the pavement at high speed, pulling her behind him. He stopped abruptly at a request stop. "Guess who I am?" he said. "Your earrings showing." She had recognised Kevin immediately. "Real gold, 18 carat. Why aren't you at school?" "Lunchtime. Mum said your dad had ordered an early lunch, so I thought I'd help. I brought you this." He was holding out a comic. "It's got a spy hole in it, so you can watch when he gets off." She looked at him helplessly, unable to offer any explanation for what she was doing. "Best be careful," he said. "Here's the bus." The single-decker bus bound for Wareham stopped in front of a long driveway, and Mr. Dodd got off. Emily waited out of sight, then followed. There was a sign on one of the gateposts which said Mallerton House. A stately home, of all places. Was her father planning to fill his pockets with the family silver? Well, she could hardly follow him into the house undetected. Emily looked again at the notice. Even half price was expensive. A voice said, "Yes?" Emily looked round, startled. There was a lodge covered with ivy, and an old woman stood behind a counter, watching her. "Did you want anything?" Are there any animals?" she asked. "We're not a safari park," said the woman. "We just have a house, and there's nothing there that would interest you," she added, looking at Emily disparagingly. "And the grounds aren't at their best this time of year." "I'll have a ticket to the maze, please," said Emily. 5 pence for the maze and 25 for the grounds." "No, just the maze, please." "You can't get into the maze without going through the grounds, now can you?" She doesn't like me, thought Emily, and then remembered her odd appearance. Taking off the balaclava and goggles, she shook out her hair. The woman stared at Emily, strangely startled at her transformation. "Who are you?" "My name is Emily Dodd." "Dodd," repeated the woman slowly. "Sorry, you reminded me of someone. Are you from these parts?" "No, from London." "You have a Dorset face, miss. Perhaps we can make an exception." She stared hard at Emily, who fidgeted under her gaze. "Don't get lost now." "I won't," said Emily. "Children have got lost before now," said the woman warningly. Then she added something half under her breath. Emily turned in surprise. Could she really have said, "This is an unlucky house for children like you"? Emily walked up the drive and eventually came to a sign which pointed to the maze. As she walked, she tried to catch the yellow leaves that fell down about her. Someone had told her it was lucky to catch one. She needed luck. Her father mustn't see her like this, with her hair blowing out like a flag. Pale cadmium orange, a very expensive colour, he'd often said. When she reached the maze, she saw a wrought-iron gate across the entrance, and a notice on it which said, "Closed." "I've paid," she said out loud, and turned the notice over so that it read, "Open." Then she climbed the gate and walked in. It was very different from what she'd imagined. The hedges had a dusty, threadbare look. Yet somehow, as she walked, the place began to charm her. It was so enclosed, so safe. Suddenly there came the sound of weeping. Dismal, wretched, it disturbed the quiet air with its misery. "It's all right," called Emily, thinking it was a child lost. "I'm coming." Immediately the weeping stopped, as if a hand had been clapped abruptly over her mouth. She ran quickly up a path that seemed to lead the right way. But now the maze turned malignant. The paths twisted and turned, seemed to promise, only to end in high, blank, forbidding hedges. Backwards and forwards she ran until she was quite lost. She was about to turn away when she heard from behind the hedge on her right a sort of muffled gulp. She looked up. The hedge was too high to climb. But there below was a piece of wire netting covering a gap in the hedge. She tore it out and flung it on the path. Then, getting down on hands and knees, she forced her way through the gap. She found herself looking across a small lawn, brilliantly green in the stormy sunlight, on which stood a tall, thin, white-faced boy. His mouth hung open, and his wild eyes stared down at her in terror. "Sylvia?" he said in a thin, high-pitched voice. "Sylvia?" "No, it's me," said Emily soothingly, and scrambled to her feet. He stared at her, the fear in his eyes changing first to bewilderment, then to anger. "Who are you? What do you want? What the devil are you doing here?" he asked furiously. She knew why he was so angry. It was because he'd been caught crying like a baby, a boy of his age. "Look, I was just walking along minding my own business when I heard you choking." The sight of his white face softened her. He looked so ill. For a moment, she thought he was going to reject the excuse she'd offered. But suddenly he smiled and said, "Beastly when something goes down the wrong way, isn't it?" Encouraged, she smiled back and asked the question that was intriguing her. "Whom do I look like? I mean, who is Sylvia?" He was silent for so long, she thought he was not going to answer. An odd expression came into his face. Then he said, "My sister. But she's dead." Until tomorrow. Goodbye. Who are you? What do you want?" Through his tears, the boy stared angrily at Emily. "I was just walking along, minding my own business, when I heard you choking." "I thought for a moment it was Sylvia," he said. "Who is Sylvia?" asked Emily. An odd expression came into the boy's face. My sister, he said. But she's dead. Dead? He'd taken her for a ghost. No wonder he'd looked terrified when he saw her. I'm sorry, she said. It was a long time ago. No one thinks of it now. There were dark circles under the boy's eyes, and his face had a greenish pallor. He certainly did not look healthy. What happened to your sister? Was she ill? Asked Emily. She drowned. She got caught in the weeds and couldn't get free. Seeing your face like that, coming out of the leaves, and the colour of your hair, it's how I always see her when I dream. Emily was feeling uneasy, not only because he'd caught her coming out of the maze when she followed her father to Mallerton House. He made her feel as if she were not herself any longer, but someone else. Does your dad work here? She asked. I'm Oliver Mallerton, he said, as if he thought everyone should know. Oliver Mallerton of Mallerton House. How grand it sounded. What did he have to cry about? What's your name? He asked. Emily Dodd of Dodd Flat, she said. It didn't have quite the same ring to it. Where's that? Emily thought of her home, and of her mother who had to work at the factory because her father didn't earn enough from his painting to support them all. London, she said. Oh, London, he said. I've been ill, he continued. That's why I'm not back at school. I had flu very badly. So did I. Oh, I don't just mean a feverish cold, he said. I nearly died. So did I. He looked at her disbelievingly. I'm not strong. I expect I'll die young. I wouldn't be at all surprised, she said. Oh, you don't know what it's like. They're always fussing over me. I'm the only son. If I die, all this would come to an end. No more Mallertons at Mallerton House. Oh, dear, said Emily politely. Suddenly he looked like a normal boy for the first time. You're laughing at me, he said. You in your silly army jacket. Emily lunged at him and he dodged away. She gave chase and they ran in and out of the evergreens, laughing and whooping in the cold air. Then Emily raced round a fir tree to try to head the boy off and found herself on a wide gravel walk. There, on the other side of a low balustrade, was the lake. It looked peaceful and innocent. Oliver came and sat on the balustrade by her side. I suppose you want to hear what happened. It won't upset me or anything. He was silent for a moment, and Emily didn't like to prompt him. See that boat? He said finally. Emily looked round and saw a rickety landing stage. At first she couldn't see the boat at all. Then she realised it was half submerged in the water, with reeds growing up all round it. Of course, it wasn't like that then, although it did leak. We'd been warned it wasn't safe, and nothing ever gets done here. Sylvia wanted to pick some water lilies, but you can't reach them from the bank. Let's take the boat, she said. I was very small. I hadn't learned to swim yet, but Sylvia was never frightened. She was strong and brave. She lifted me and told me not to be silly. When we got to the water lilies, she passed the oars to me and told me to hold the boat still, but the oars were slippery and heavy, and when she leaned over, the boat rocked and moved away. Emily was spellbound. What happened? She fell in. Her feet came up and there was a great splash and I was nearly thrown off my seat. I sat there waiting for her, but she didn't come. Suddenly I felt alone and frightened. I looked over the side and there was her face underneath the water. She was too deep. The weeds held her down. I could feel cold water round my legs. The boat was leaking. There was nothing I could do. I screamed for help, but nobody came. She seemed to hold her arms as if she wanted me to join her. Emily couldn't speak. While he'd been talking, she'd seen it all so vividly. It was the painting her father had done of her while she was ill. What had made him paint her like that, as if she were drowning? Outside the Fairview Hotel, Kevin was waiting for Emily. What had happened to her since he'd seen her onto the Wareham bus earlier that day? Had her father noticed that she was following him? He sighed and wondered what to do if she didn't come back at all. At that moment, a car slowed down and stopped in front of the hotel, and Emily emerged. Come on, stupid, Kevin shouted at her. Your dad's been on the lookout for you. You'll get us both into trouble. I've had such an exciting time. You'll never guess where I've been. Won't I just, he thought. He's asked me to go riding with him and stay to lunch, she said. Kevin led her through the side door. Hurry up off with my anorak, he said. Aren't you going to ask me who? She asked. Oh, all right, he said. Who? Oliver Mallerton of Mallerton House. Well now, the little lord of the manor himself. I suppose you think I'm a snob, she said. I'm not, honest. I've never met anyone really posh before, so it's sort of interesting. Well, I must get a move on. I've got a lot of homework to do. Won't I see you later? Asked Emily. I've such a lot to tell you. I've heard such a terrible thing, and I can't very well talk to Dad about it. Kevin relented. He was, to tell the truth, very interested to hear about Oliver Malleton. They agreed to meet in the hotel lounge after dinner. Mr. Dodd was playing bar billiards, so they had the lounge to themselves. Poor old Dad, said Emily. I feel a bit mean. Too easy, was it? He trusts me. Well, I'd leave it be. Don't say anything. Nobody likes being spied on, whether they're up to anything or not. So, he landed up at Malleton, did he? Yes. I went to the maze. Emily was glad to get away from the subject of her father and onto her story. She told it well. As she spoke, she was back in the maze, hearing the cry, then climbing through, seeing the boy, and listening to his story as he sat on the balustrade near the lake. The boat was sinking, said Emily, coming to the end. He screamed, and nobody came. Poor little boy, said Kevin. So he drowned? Oh, of course he didn't, she replied. Some servant's boy heard him and fished him out. Kevin flushed a dark red. He picked up the poker and started attacking the fire. Some servant's boy, he said bitterly. Has he forgotten we was friends once? He might have given me a name. Kevin's mother, he told her, used to work at Malleton House as a maid. She was very glad to get the job, as life wasn't easy for a woman with a child and no husband. My dad worked the coconuts at the fair, only he moved on before he had time to hear I was on the way. Oliver and I went to look for him once when the fair came to Corfe. We had no money to spend, because Oliver was kept as short as I was, but we wandered about, looking round, and had a great laugh. Oliver kept pointing to all the freaks and saying, "There's your father." Then I saw a man who was brown as a berry, with curling black hair and a gold earring, and I guessed that was him. Oh, by then it was very late. We missed the bus and got into trouble. Nanny blamed me, of course. But Lady Malleton stuck up for me, said it was good for Oliver to have a little playmate. Oh, what about his sister? Asked Emily. Didn't she play with you, or did she die before you came? Oh, Titch, you've half been taken in. He's full of fancies, young Oliver. He never had no sister. He's an only child. Emily was astonished. She couldn't believe Oliver had been lying. He'd been really frightened when he first saw her. And the woman at the lodge, too, had stared, taking her for someone else. But who is Sylvia? Sylvia Malleton, what drowned in the lake when she was nobbut 12 years old, all among the water lilies, just like he said. Only it was 100 years ago, long afore he was born. There was a picture of her in the gallery, all in white, standing sideways on, looking over her shoulder, with your fizz, Titch, and your orange hair falling down her back. A painting? She should have stayed that way, said Kevin bitterly. It was all that Nanny's fault, always telling us about Malletons what died young, and little Sylvia was her favourite. Oh, the poor pretty little love, lying there among the water lilies, the fairest flower of them all. Silly old cow. And do you know what she used to say to Oliver, in what's always been so sickly? Oh, this is an unlucky house for children like you. Why, that's what the woman at the lodge said to me. Aye, you'll have met her. She lives in the lodge and sells tickets at the gates. Emily's sympathies were by now all with Kevin. I shan't go tomorrow. I'll let that little snob wait, all ready with another pack of lies. But somehow this was not satisfactory. No, I will go. I'll push him in the lake and see how he likes that. Oh, don't you do that now, said Kevin. He's been in the lake already. It was him and me in the boat what sank. It was him what got caught in the weeds. We was playing the Sylvia game. The Sylvia game. It sounded harmless. Not like a game that would nearly cause the death of one boy and lead to the banishment of the other. Two small boys in a large, lonely house, inventing an imaginary companion, Sylvia Malleton, the girl who had drowned when she was only 12. For nearly 3 years the imaginary girl presided over their games, sometimes as their older sister, sometimes as a princess. She'd sit issuing imperious commands, or so Oliver said. The things she'd have us do, said Kevin. So dangerous. I wouldn't do them now. We tried to kidnap old Farley's peacock. He fair skewered my hand. Then there was the time I had to tie ribbons on the horns of Blair's bull. Didn't Oliver do anything? Asked Emily. Oh, he took his turn, fair enough. Only I couldn't think up anything fancy like that. It was a dare, see? She'd get you if you didn't do it. Kevin had forgotten his anger. His face showed nothing but old affection and amusement. He was a good friend to have, thought Emily. Funny thing was, Kevin went on, he frightened himself most. Many a night he'd wake up screaming, "She's coming for me!" And she near got him in the end. It was the last day of the summer holidays, after Oliver's first term at school. He said he wanted to say goodbye to Sylvia. I said we'd get into trouble. He was wearing his new trousers. But it was no good. Oliver always got his way. It was Kevin who had rowed out to the lilies and handed the oars to Oliver, and Oliver who jerked the boat so that Kevin had fallen in. So Kevin had grabbed the oar and jerked Oliver in too. "But he got caught in the weeds," he went on. "I thought I'd never get him free, thought we'd both drown. It was like someone was holding him down. But I got him in the end. I won." It was a doubtful victory. Oliver had been ill for weeks. The water had got on his chest and he'd nearly died. Kevin and his mother had been asked to leave. "But you saved his life," said Emily. "How could they? Didn't you tell them it was Oliver's fault?" "It was that nanny," explained Kevin. "She always blamed me for everything. Mum and her, they had a terrible row about it. It ended up with Nanny saying either we left or she would, and of course she'd been there forever. She'd been Sir Robert's nanny when he was little, see? And what with Sir Robert trying to make a man of Oliver, so it had to be us. He was nice about it, but we had to go." "Oh, didn't Oliver do anything? Didn't he try and stop them?" "He was too ill. He didn't know nothing about it till it was too late. Now you leave it be now." Emily looked at him with enormous admiration. She wasn't equal to such heights of friendship. She could not forgive Oliver. If Kevin would be her friend, she'd never let him down. Later, as she was going to bed, she turned her head and caught sight of herself in the mirror. The glass was a little smeary, and the face looked back at her as if through water. A pale face with large, staring eyes and orange hair falling over the shoulders. Sylvia! What's happening? Who am I? She thought, feeling dizzy as if she were dissolving into someone else before her eyes. She shook herself. "I'm Emily Dodd," she said firmly, climbing into bed. "I'm Emily Dodd, daughter of a poor but honest painter." As she drifted to sleep, her mind filled with what she'd heard, she seemed to smell oil paint and turps, and a half-memory tugged at her. But then it was gone again, and she slept. Until tomorrow, goodbye. Emily sat thinking as the bus sped towards Mallerton House. Should she tell Oliver he was a snob and thus stick up for Kevin? Kevin had been such a good friend to him, and it was he who had rescued Oliver from drowning when they were playing the Sylvia game. But Kevin hadn't wanted a champion, and Emily's crusading spirit had died during the night. The bus stopped, and Oliver was there to meet her with 2 horses. He seemed a different boy today. The tear stains and dirt had been washed from his face, leaving it calm and assured. His fair hair gleamed sleekly in the sun. He looked very much the young aristocrat, and it made her feel shy. "Hello," she said, looking uneasily at the horses. "Don't you want to ride?" said Oliver. "We can do something else if you like. It doesn't matter." Like boating on the lake, she thought. No thanks. Aloud, she said she'd like to ride, and he helped her mount, then saw to his own horse. "Come on," said Oliver. "I'll lead the way." After a while, they left the lane for a wide grass walk where they were able to ride side by side. Oliver showed Emily how to trot, how to rise up and down in the stirrups, missing the alternate bumps. "Well done," he said. "That's very good." She smiled at him, pleased with his praise, quite forgetting that she disliked him. Even when he called her Sylvia once or twice, she let it go, not wanting to spoil the morning. Oliver talked eagerly to her, almost as though he'd been locked up in a tower for years and was trying to make up for lost time. He talked about his young dog, whom he was trying to train, but who would chase the ducks and make his father angry. He talked of the summer fete always held at Mallerton, and how angry his father had been at the mess they'd made of his lawns. Emily, listening, noticed how often his father's anger punctuated his speech. Not that he complained. He spoke of his father with admiration. His father was very clever. He was a fine horseman. The Mallertons had always been good riders, except himself. Emily was surprised to find she felt sorry for Oliver. This was the boy she'd envied for his grand home and his titled parents and his wealth. This lonely, pale boy with his fierce father. "Well, you ride jolly well now," she said. "Oh, that was thanks to Kevin," he said. "He helped me." "Kevin?" repeated Emily. She'd never expected him to bring up Kevin's name. "So you haven't forgotten his name?" "What do you mean? Of course I haven't. Kevin Dewey is the best friend I ever had. He saved my life once." "Yes, you told me. But you said some servant's boy." "Yes, his mother used to work here," said Oliver, puzzled by the emphasis she put on these words. Then he added, "I like people for themselves, whatever their parents are. Are you a snob?" "Me?" It was too much for her. "I'm not a snob. I don't go round referring to my friends as the baker's daughter or the butcher's son, as if they were cards in happy families." "But you see, it would have spoiled the end of my story," said Oliver, unabashed. "You know, the bit about Sylvia being my dead, drowned sister. Good Lord, Kevin wouldn't mind. He'd understand it was the game. Oh, it was great. We used to frighten the gawks who came to visit the house. Once we hid in a cupboard and howled like wolves, and we heard a father telling his children it wasn't a ghost, only wind in the chimney. It's been so dull since Kevin left." "Well, why don't you ask him over, then?" "I don't know where he is. I was terribly ill and nearly died, and when I got better it was too late. Father said they'd rushed off without leaving an address." Someone was lying, thought Emily. Not Oliver this time. Probably his high and mighty father. But she knew where Kevin was. As they walked towards the house, she said, "Would you like to come to Swan Bay after lunch? Only there's a splendid market there." Oliver led the way through a door marked private. He was taking her to meet his mother. "Will your dad be there?" asked Emily a little nervously. "No, he's in London. He's not coming back till late tomorrow." So her father had been telling the truth when he told her that the man he wanted to see was out. But why on earth should he want to see Sir Robert? And why was he so secretive that Emily had had to follow him in disguise yesterday when she'd first met Oliver? They passed through a long passage, and Emily, glancing down, saw a red rope looped across the far end. Beyond that was a glow of gold leaf, richly coloured tapestries, and gleaming wood. "What's that?" she asked. "Oh, that's only the Great Hall. You don't want to see that. Come on." Oliver led her through a door which took them into a small study. Lady Mallerton was sitting at a writing desk by the window. "Yes," she said, looking up at Emily. "Are you lost, my dear?" "Oh, Mother, this is Emily," said Oliver. "I told you about her, remember? The girl I asked to ride with me." "Oh, my dear, of course. How silly of me. Did you enjoy your ride?" "Yes, thank you." "Oh, do sit down, my dear. I just want to finish this letter, then we can talk. Now, where did I put my glasses?" "Right in front of you, Mother." "Oh, how silly of me. Emily, dear, would you mind drawing the curtain a little more so that I can see?" Emily went to the window and glanced over her shoulder at Lady Mallerton. "Is that enough?" Lady Mallerton gave a little shriek. "Oh, of course! No, don't move. Oliver, look. Isn't she the very image of our lost Renoir?" Lost? Emily was an artist's daughter and knew that Renoir's paintings fetched huge sums of money. "Was it stolen?" she asked. "Burnt, my dear, burnt to a cinder. Poor little Sylvia. First drowned in the lake and then burnt in the gallery. Really a most unlucky child. And the worst of it was we didn't get a penny, not a penny. Didn't Oliver tell you about our tragedy?" Yes, said Oliver impatiently. You didn't tell me about the fire. Oh, that's boring, he said quickly. You don't want to hear about that. But he couldn't stop his mother from talking. Emily learnt all about Sylvia, how her mother had been French and had had her painted by Renoir when they were in Paris. Such luck, my dear, when it might have been by just anybody. She heard about the fire 3 years ago, and how Mallerton might have been burnt to the ground had not Oliver smelled smoke and given the alarm, and how the insurance company wouldn't pay up just because the policy was out of date by a few months. My fault, my dear. Robert was in America, and poor Oliver was recovering from pneumonia. He'd fallen into the lake, silly boy. Emily reflected that he had lost them both, Sylvia and Kevin. Funny, Kevin had not told her about the fire either. It must have happened at about the time that he and his mother had been chucked out. Why hadn't he said anything about it? Had Oliver seen anything, or anyone? Running down the smoke-filled passages, had he flung open a window to breathe the cold, fresh air, looked out and seen... Emily shook the idea out of her head, in time to hear Oliver say, "I'm going to Swanham Bay with Emily, Mother." The market was crowded. Women with large shopping baskets stood gossiping in the aisles. Emily and Oliver had passed the fruit and vegetable stalls when they saw Kevin polishing the leaves of a rubber plant with a cloth. He looked up when Emily said, "Hello," and stared at Oliver. "Look what's turned up," said Kevin, as though he'd found a slug under a stone. "Kevin! It's Kevin!" cried Oliver, his face alight with simple happiness. Then he added uncertainly, "It is, isn't it?" "Yes, of course," said Emily, when it became obvious that Kevin was not going to volunteer this information. "It's your hair," said Oliver. "It's different. I wish Mother would let me wear mine like that. Where have you been all this time? Why didn't you ring me?" And to Emily, "You never told me you knew Kevin." "I wanted it to be a surprise." It had gone wrong. It had been a stupid idea. "A surprise? Oh, it's certainly that. Good Lord, it's simply splendid." Oliver stressed the word as if by doing so he could make it true. "Oh, splendid, old chap. Let's hang out the jolly old flag, shall we?" said Kevin in cruel mimicry. "It wasn't Oliver's fault. Your mother never left an address." "Oh, didn't she now? That was right careless of her." "Kev, you old idiot, I asked everyone and nobody knew where you'd gone. Father said—" His voice trailed away as he realized for the first time that he might not have been told the truth. There was a horrid little silence. Then Kevin said very nastily, "Well, it's been a treat meeting you again, Master Oliver. Don't let me keep you now. I've got work to do." Emily could have hit him. "Yes, you have got work to do," she said angrily. "You can sell me a plant. That's what you're here for, isn't it?" Kevin looked at her and picked up a cactus. Emily got ready to duck. "Go on, I dare you." But Kevin just thrust it towards her face, saying, "Put your nose in that, miss. That'll learn you to keep it out of other people's." He put the cactus down very quickly. Turning round, Emily saw that a large man had come up and was beaming at them cheerfully. "Oh, let her have it cheap, lad, as she's a friend of yours. 10p. How's that, missy? Worth 30p anywhere. Wrap it up and then go off with your mates for something to eat. I'll take over now. Go on, have a good time. Long as you're back by 5, Kev." There was nothing they could do but go off together. They walked silently, Emily in the middle, with Kevin scowling on one side and Oliver pale and haughty on the other. They came to a cafe and stopped. "You don't have to put up with me any longer," said Oliver. "I'm going." "Oh, come on," said Emily, losing her temper. She stormed into the cafe and went up to the counter, leaving them to it. She spent as long as possible choosing 3 doughnuts and 3 Cokes. When she looked over her shoulder, she saw to her relief that they were sitting at a table, talking quietly, their heads close together. That was all right, then. A lot of fuss about nothing. She came back towards the table in time to hear Kevin say in a low voice, "It's what Mum can't forgive. Not ever. Didn't you know he put the police on to us?" They had not noticed her. Emily stood still, the tray in her hands. "The police? Father did?" Oliver looked utterly astonished. "After the fire. They thought I done it. For revenge, see?" "You?" "Because of Mum's getting the push," said Kevin. "Didn't you know it was done deliberate? Arson, they said. Mum says they can tell. Oliver was shaking as Kevin carried on speaking. Oh, it doesn't matter. They couldn't prove nothing. I was with Mum that night like she told them. Don't suppose they believed her, but... He stopped, as he was suddenly aware Emily was standing there. Emily stood staring at them, but she saw in her mind a different picture. A small boy in pyjamas, creeping through the night, his bare feet making no sound on the wooden floor. A boy who was son and heir to a great house with everything that money could buy, and something it couldn't. A friend like Kevin. "It wasn't Kevin at all," exclaimed Emily. "It was you. You did it yourself, didn't you, Oliver? You burned Sylvia." The next day Emily went once more to Mallerton House. This time Oliver was not there to greet her. A maid ushered her to his bedroom, saying that Master Oliver had not been very well. Emily was not surprised. A terrible scene had followed after she had accused Oliver of burning the painting. Eventually she and Kevin had managed to calm him down, and they were all friends once more. Oliver had asked Emily to come riding again, and now she waited alone in his room. Suddenly there came a curious rasping and panting outside in the passage. Emily looked out and saw that a black dog was scratching energetically at the foot of a door. "Oh, all right," she said, and opened the door for him. The dog shot through, barking excitedly, and there came a high-pitched voice shouting, "Down, sir, down!" Emily followed and went up an old wooden staircase which led into a large attic. It was lit by a single bulb, which cast its light on a jumble of old furniture, trunks, an old rocking horse, and Oliver. He was standing on a stool, holding above his head a long bundle wrapped in an old yellow sheet, while his dog leapt about him joyfully. "Down, you brute, down!" Oliver cried. Jasper, mistaking the order, brought him down, while something long and narrow shot out from the confusion and landed near Emily's feet. She picked it up. It was a roll of canvas, old, stained, and very large. "What are you doing?" Oliver screamed at her. "Put that down! It's mine! Don't look at it!" It was too late. Emily had seen enough. She had seen a white dress she remembered only too well. A silly, old-fashioned dress with a tucked bodice, a pale green sash, and deep frills laced with ribbons, green and blue. A dress her father had given her over a year ago and bribed her to pose in. How could she have forgotten that pose? She remembered now how her neck had ached as she'd stood and looked at him over her shoulder, one hand bent up to hold a strand of her long orange hair, the other holding a hoop. "It's me! It isn't Sylvia at all! It's me!" she exclaimed, surprise pushing all other thoughts from her head. "That's my dad's painting! The old liar! He said it had gone wrong and he'd painted it out!" Emily stood staring at the old canvas in her hand. "It's me!" she cried. "It isn't Sylvia at all. That's my dad's painting. The old liar! He said it had gone wrong and he'd painted it out." Stray memories shifted restlessly in her head. "Dad, why is the studio door locked?" "Because I'm sick of you kids running in and out as you please, mucking about with my paint." The white dress, all frills and ribbons, lying in tissue paper. "I hate it! You only bought it because you want me to pose in it." The white dress, all frills and ribbons, now on an old canvas in a dusty attic. The studio door is unlocked. She's standing in front of a faded green sheet tacked to the wall behind her. "Dad, what a filthy old canvas. It's all stained." "I'm using up an old one. Don't look, Emily. I want it to be a surprise. I'm trying a different style." A different style. The answer was there, waiting to be let into her head. She seemed to hear it knocking for admittance. But it was only Oliver, getting up and putting the stool back on its feet. "You can't tell anyone, you know," he said, attempting a confident smile. "You can't, or I'll tell on your father." "What do you mean?" "I'll tell that he's a forger." "That's a dirty lie!" she shouted. But even as she denied it, she thought, of course. A forger. Not, as she'd sometimes suspected, a thief or a spy, not planning to run off with a model and leave them all. Oh, she felt like crying. Her father always used to say, "With all my faults, at least I'm true to my art." Fool that she was, she'd believed him. Oh, well, she said to herself, I've known for ages Dad wasn't perfect. All right, he's a faker, so what? You gave it away yourself, Oliver was saying. You know you did. That's Dad's painting, you said. I was joking. That's an old painting. Anyone can see that. It's not even in his style. Don't pretend. Can't you see? It's quite safe. We can tell each other anything. Please, Emily. I want to tell someone. All right, she said. Anyway, I was right, wasn't I? You set fire to the gallery. Yes, he said simply. They walked back to Oliver's room and settled themselves comfortably for Oliver to tell his story. It was because I'd been given an archery set for my birthday. Mother wouldn't let me go out as it was raining and I'd only just recovered from pneumonia, so I set up the butt at one end of the portrait gallery. It was quite safe, and it was Sunday when the public was not admitted. Nobody ever came up there. I was having a lovely time until I shot Great-Aunt Margaret, straight through the heart. It would have been a splendid shot if I'd meant it. But it wasn't really my fault. I heard a noise behind me and I must have jerked just as I let the arrow fly. It tore a great hole in the canvas. I tried to pull the edges together, but it just made it worse. The paint kept flaking off. I couldn't tell Father. You don't know what he's like. He'd have killed me. It could have been repaired. You didn't need to burn the whole gallery. I was only 9, said Oliver, and I'd been ill. And I've paid for it. You don't know what it's been like these last 3 years, dreaming about the fire. Telling her seemed to be a sort of relief. He was calm now, and the fear had left his face. It's your turn now, he said to Emily. Go on. Well, All right. That's Dad's painting in your attic. It's a fake, but I don't know how it got there, honest. To her surprise, he laughed. Oh, that's not your father's. That's the Renoir. That's Sylvia. You're downstairs in the study. Well, I couldn't let poor Sylvia burn, could I? I cut her out of the frame with my new knife. It was quite easy. I only jagged her a little at one corner. Then I rolled her up and hid her in the attic. You didn't guess there were 2 paintings, did you? Nobody knows except me. Father found the other one this morning, didn't they tell you? Sir Robert had gone out after lunch to have a look at the old ice house, as he had some plan to turn it into an ice cream kiosk. He'd not been gone 10 minutes before he was back, shouting in great excitement, calling everyone to his study to see what he'd found. It was the Renoir, wrapped in a dustbin bag, hidden under a pile of dead leaves. Oliver's head was spinning. He knew that he had hidden the Renoir in the attic, not the ice house, and that he'd set fire to the gallery. Was his father playing some sort of terrible game with him? So I rushed up to the attic, he concluded, and that's where you came in. You took it for your father's painting, but of course his must be the one they've got, the one downstairs. Do you see now? Oh, she understood at last. Her father, poor and in debt, must have been all too easily tempted. She'd often heard him boast he could paint better than Renoir or Titian or Turner. Had he been overheard one day, or had her own resemblance to Sylvia first suggested the idea? Had someone seen one of the portraits of her that her father had painted and made a careful note of the signature, Benjamin Dodd? The signature. There was no law against making a copy as long as... Is it signed? She asked. Yes, replied Oliver. A. Renoir in the bottom right-hand corner, just like mine. Oh. It's very good, you know. I suppose he copied it from a photograph in our guidebook. It must be funny having a father who's a criminal... Oliver stopped himself from finishing the word. I mean, well, did you know? No, she said, realizing that Oliver didn't see the full significance of the situation. Why did he hide it in our ice house? He asked after a long pause. So that it would be found, of course. Found? He asked, rather stupidly. It was meant to be found. Do you think Dad did it for fun? He took a lot of trouble. Someone gave him money, someone told him where to hide it, someone thought up a story to explain it all. She laughed. Oh, no wonder he wanted everybody to come. He wanted witnesses. No, said Oliver sharply, not my father. He wouldn't do anything dishonest. He's a Malleton. Emily was unimpressed. "Besides, why should he?" "For money," she said. "We don't need money. We're rich." It was then that Lady Mallerton chose to come in, bearing milk and biscuits on a silver tray, as if it were champagne. "Do you know what a Renoir fetched last week?" she asked excitedly. £300,000. Think of that. Of course, it might have been a bigger one. The papers didn't say what size. Oh, my dears, it couldn't have come at a better time. Now I shall be able to sleep at night instead of lying awake looking at that awful bulge in the ceiling. Oh, Oliver, darling, I'm sorry. I know you were rather fond of her. Do you remember that silly game you used to play? But we need the money. Father's taking it up to London tomorrow. Then we must all pray for a very rich American, or perhaps an Arab." When at last she'd gone, Emily glanced at Oliver. She half expected he'd be near to tears, but he met her gaze quite cheerfully. There'd been a Mallerton in the 18th century, he told her, who'd been hanged for highway robbery, and another had been banished by Henry VIII, though he'd forgotten why. "We've always been an adventurous lot," he said. She nodded respectfully, glad that he'd found a way to absolve his father. "Well, you have to hand it to him," he said. "It was a jolly clever idea, wasn't it? No reason why it shouldn't have worked, if your father did his job properly." "He won't have done," she said. "He'll have got something wrong. I know he will. They'll both be found out." "Look, there's no need to get upset. It's quite simple. All we have to do is change the paintings over, and nobody will be any the wiser. They'll go ahead thinking they're selling the fake, when all the time it'll be the real thing." Slowly, Emily began to smile. She liked the idea. Serve her father right. "Every time an expert looks at it closely, they'll shake in their shoes," she said. "And if it's X-rayed, my father will pray yours hasn't used an old potato sack for a canvas," he laughed. "How's that for a Sylvia game? It'll be the best ever." "How shall we do it?" asked Emily. "Well, I'll create a diversion by falling downstairs. Everyone will come running when I scream. All you have to do is slip into the study when father leaves and change the paintings. It won't take a minute, only you mustn't get caught. I don't know what father would do." Not far from Sir Robert Mallerton's study door was a large carved chest. Behind it was Emily, crouched on the floor. Her hair was hidden beneath an old navy ski hat of Oliver's. By her side was a blue nylon kit bag that had once held Oliver's tent, and now contained £300,000 worth of rolled-up Renoir. As she waited, she reflected that she must have been mad. Why me? Why couldn't Oliver have done it? He's frightened of his father, that's why. So am I, come to that. It had been surprisingly difficult to resist Oliver's eager, hopeful face. No wonder Kevin had always landed up the one in trouble. She thought of Kevin, wished he were here now. He would not be frightened. He would not be crouching down with a pain in his belly and his back aching as if every vertebra was a rotten tooth. She had to move. Just as she was about to do so, the study door opened, and she froze to the spot. The man who appeared was as red as a fox, red hair, red face, short red moustache. There was nothing else fox-like about him, however. He was a tall, bad-tempered bull of a man. He didn't glance her way, but walked briskly down the passage and out of sight. "Calm down," she said to herself. "Breathe in. It won't take a minute." She slid into the study and closed the door behind her with shaking fingers. She could hardly loosen the string of the kit bag, but eventually she managed it, and she drew out the Renoir. Then she heard footsteps. He was coming back. She must hide, but where? The footsteps were almost at the door. Behind the desk? Too far. Behind the chair. The door handle turned. In the distance, someone screamed. There was a muffled thumping, and someone screamed again, 3 times. Oliver had fallen downstairs. The handle was abruptly released, and a key turned in the lock. The footsteps thundered away down the passage. She was locked in. She was terribly frightened. Then she remembered the windows and the open garden beyond. She was not trapped. Now she moved quickly. There was a loose roll of canvas on the table by the window. She'd better check if it was her father's painting. Yes, she glimpsed that changeling face and the red-gold hair before she let the canvas roll up again. She tried the windows. They were casements and wouldn't open. Where was the key? In this jug? No. Behind the clock? No. In the desk drawers. Paper. Pencils. At last, the shining metal rod with a round handle. Oh, if only her fingers wouldn't tremble so. It fitted. She snatched up the roll of canvas and thrust it into the kit bag, leaving the other one in its place. She was astride the sill when the door opened. Then she was running madly, the kit bag bumping against her side. A furious voice was bellowing after her. "Stop, thief! Head him off! Head him off, Rogers, you old fool!" Emily ran and ran till she was clear of the house. There was no one behind her. She found a gap in the hedge and forced her way through, shutting her eyes against the twigs that brushed against her face. When she opened them, she saw a pair of muddy boots in front of her. The old man was looking down at her, leaning on his garden fork. "Get off, then, you poor little fox," he said to her. Emily gave him a startled smile of gratitude and was gone. When she was out of sight, he said, "Call me an old fool, would he?" Emily was lying on her bed, the moonlight shining on her. There had been a noise. Now it came again. Tap, tap, tap. It was Sylvia. She was in the drawer. Why didn't someone let her out? Someone was screaming. Then her father stood there in his pyjamas. "What's the matter? What's happened?" "It's Sylvia. She's in that drawer. Look." "Oh, poor Emmy. It's only a nightmare. But I'll go and look for you." He crouched down and opened the drawer. "Here, look. One nightie and... Oh, my goodness. What's this?" He unrolled the canvas and stared at it. "It's good, by Jove. It's far better than mine. Where on earth did you get hold of this?" "I can't tell you. It's a secret." "Now, Emily, my poor child, do you realize what you've got here?" "Yes, your wretched fake." "My dear, it's true I made a copy of the Renoir. But this is no fake, Emily. This is the original." She looked wildly at the painting on the floor and saw at one corner a jagged tear. "I cut it out of the frame," Oliver had said. "It was quite easy. I only jagged it a little at one corner." "It's the wrong one, Dad. I've taken the wrong one. What are we going to do?" "Until tomorrow. Goodbye." Mr. Dodd stared down at the canvas, and Sylvia's face stared back at him. "It's good, by Jove. It's far better than mine. Where on earth did you get hold of this, Emily?" "I can't tell you. It's a secret," came the reply. "But, my poor child, do you realize what you've got here?" "Yes, it's your wretched fake." "It's true that I made a copy of the Renoir. But this is no fake, Emily. This is the original." She looked wildly at the painting on the floor and saw at one corner a jagged tear. "I cut it out of its frame," Oliver had said. "It was quite easy. I only jagged it a little at one corner." "It's the wrong one," she cried. "Dad, I've taken the wrong one. What are we going to do?" "Well, I'll have to take it back," he said. "First thing tomorrow, I'll take this up to Malton House." Emily and her father talked long into the night. Mr. Dodd explained everything, sweeping the old suspicions from her head as if they were cobwebs. When she had imagined that he'd gone away and left them, he had been to Tom Crabb's, just as he'd said. Her mother had been cross because he'd missed the last bus and couldn't let her know since the telephone had been cut off. As usual, he'd forgotten to pay the bill. Was that why he looked guilty, Emily wondered? Only that? And the locked studio door, he went on. Well, didn't she remember? A tube of Chinese vermilion had been knocked off his work table and trodden on, leaving small, expensive footprints all over the floor. "Do you know how much Chinese vermilion costs?" he asked now. £15 a tube. Well, as for the dress, he'd bought it for her, because when he'd been given the colour transparency of the Renoir to work from, he thought how pretty she'd look in such a dress. "Besides, it gave me the chance to make a few practice sketches," he added with cheerful innocence. "You know I always prefer working from a model. I wanted to get the feel of Renoir's style. I even got you to stand in the same pose, don't you remember?" Emily felt completely confused. Had she built up a tower of suspicion out of nothing but a few straws? A guilty look, a locked door, a feeling that something was being kept from her? Had it only been about money? Was that all? "I don't know," she said helplessly. "I don't know what to believe any more." "My poor Emily, what can I say now, except that I am telling the truth? I don't know how to convince you. You said you'd taken the wrong painting. Now, did you see the other one? Mine?" "Yes." "Come now, did it look old? Did it have crackleture?" he asked. "Yes, Dad. It looked exactly the same, cracks and all." "Are you sure? That painting was in mint condition when I handed it over in London." "In London?" Emily asked. "Yes. Oh, you thought we came down here so that I could deliver it. No, I delivered it over a month ago. But when the doctor said you needed a change of air, I couldn't resist the thought of seeing it in the ancestral gallery. But it was a rubbishy lot. I suppose he'd sold all the good ones, and my painting wasn't even there." So that was why he'd gone to Mallerton House that first day, thought Emily, when she'd followed him in disguise. It was all quite innocent after all. "How did you first meet Sir Robert?" she asked. "He saw that portrait of you in the window of Greenlips Gallery last year, and he was very struck by the resemblance. He told me the Renoir had been destroyed in a fire some time ago, and he wanted to hang a copy in its place. Offered me 100 for expenses, and 3,000 when I handed the painting over. 3,000! More than double what I get for my original work. I took him for a fool. Now I'm beginning to wonder what he's taken me for. If he had the original all the time—" "Oh, he didn't," said Emily. "He thinks it was burnt. Someone hid it. But I can't tell you any more. Please don't ask me. Please." "All right, Emmy, I won't." "But, Dad, why didn't you tell us then? If it was all so innocent, why make a secret of it?" For the first time, the shifty, guilty look she remembered so well came into his face. "It was because I was afraid if you found out how much I was getting for the copy, you'd all nag at me to go on doing them. I'm not a copyist. I want to do my own work, Emily." At last she believed him. It might seem an absurd reason to others, but to her it wore a familiar face. Well, her father might not be the knight in shining armour she'd thought him when she was small, but he was not a criminal either. She knew, however, that there were things that could not be explained away, things she had not told him. Someone at Mallerton had lied. Someone at Mallerton had planned to pass off a copy as an original, and there was only one person it could be, Sir Robert. The next morning, Emily and her father walked through the gates of Mallerton House unchallenged. The sun was shining, and Emily was filled with nervous excitement. They turned the last corner of the drive and saw, against the backdrop of the old tired house, 2 boys standing side by side in the sunlight. Kevin and Oliver. 2 pairs of eyes stared at them, and at the kit bag in Mr. Dodd's hands. You told! Shouted Oliver. "You broke your bond of honour!" Steady now, said her father. "Emily's told me nothing. It's you who've given the show away by jumping to conclusions. You must be Sir Robert's son. So, it was you who hid the Renoir, was it?" "Go away! Why do you have to interfere? You'll ruin everything." "I took the wrong painting," Emily confessed bravely. "Oh, Titch, if that bain't just like you," said Kevin, laughing. He stopped laughing abruptly. Oliver had snatched the kit bag out of Mr. Dodd's hands and was off away from the house before the others had time to move. For all his boasted ill health, Oliver ran very fast. The other 3 followed, but Mr. Dodd was soon left behind. Then Kevin disappeared into the maze after Oliver. Emily's legs felt like wet clay. She knew the maze now and distrusted it. It seemed to have the habit of expanding and contracting at will, like a flesh-eating plant. She did not want to be hidden in leaves like Sylvia. "Where are you?" she shouted. Silence. They weren't going to answer. Then whispers seemed to come from every side, breathing through the dusty leaves. "Why do you always have to interfere?" said one voice. "I've had a belly full of you," said the other. Emily turned the corner, and she was there, in the heart of the maze at last. It was a grey heart with a rusty iron bench in the middle, and a large plastic litter basket, and the 2 boys. "What have you done with Sylvia?" asked Emily, and then she noticed the roll of canvas sticking out of the bin. "I put her where she belongs. muttered Oliver. "I didn't tell on you, honest," said Emily. "Dad found it. We've got to give it back. I'm sorry." "All right, take it. I don't care. You've ruined my life, that's all." "Ollie," began Kevin, but Oliver interrupted fiercely. "Oh, look at Kevin, the hero. He wants to go to my father and tell him everything. Tell him he knew all about the fake. Only, of course, he wasn't going to give me away. Oh, no, not Kevin. He was going to take the blame." "Why?" asked Emily. "I was only trying to help. I'm older than him," said Kevin. "It was just the same when we were kids. 'Don't blame Oliver,' he'd say, before I had a chance to open my mouth. It was me. He was always the one to stand up and take the blame. It's not fair. I never had a chance." "Well, you've got a chance now, Oliver," said Emily. "Go on. It's your blame. Take it. Tell your father. He can't do much, not after what he's done. Not when he was thinking of selling Dad's painting, knowing it was a fake." Oliver looked at her. I can't," he whispered. There was silence for a moment. Then Emily spoke, in a high, imperious voice, quite unlike her own. "I dare you. You have to do what I say, or I'll come and get you in the night." Oliver got up abruptly and stood staring at her, his eyes wide and blank. But then he stopped and shook his head violently. "You're not Sylvia," he cried angrily. "You're nothing like her. Anyway, I'm not mad. I know she's only a painting." "Yes," agreed Emily, "she's only a painting. Still, it would have been a splendid end to the game, wouldn't it? Throw a double six and you're home. Oh, well." She turned towards the path and heard his voice behind her. "Don't forget the painting. And you're going the wrong way. Oh, I suppose I'll have to show you." "Show you both," he added, smiling uncertainly at Kevin. Oliver led them back towards the house where Mr. Dodd was waiting for them. "I'm sorry I was rude," he said to Mr. Dodd. "Perhaps you would be good enough to wait in the library. I have something I must say to my father first." He crossed to the study door, knocked, and went in, closing the door behind him. "Father," he said, his voice high and clear, "it was me who burned down the gallery. I did it." It seemed like an endless wait to Emily. But eventually they were shown into the study, and Mr. Dodd handed the kit bag containing the Renoir to Sir Robert Mallerton. "It's been torn at the corner," Sir Robert said accusingly when the canvas had been laid out on the study desk. "Good heavens, man, you're lucky to have it back at all. Luckier than you deserve. I want an explanation, sir," said Mr. Dodd angrily. "There seems to be a misunderstanding," Sir Robert said coldly. "My son told me some cock and bull story. Can't make head or tail of it. I employed you, Dodd, to make a copy of this painting, as I intended to sell it and wanted something to hang in its place. You did your work reasonably well, and I paid you for it. I can't see what more there is to be said." "Father," began Oliver. "You be quiet, boy." Emily looked at her father, who seemed to be having some difficulty choosing his words. Mr. Dodd was aware of Oliver, standing pale and upright by his father's side, and when he spoke it was quite mildly. "Well, that's one way of putting it, I suppose. By the way, I'd like to see my copy before I go." There was a definite suggestion in his voice that if his request was not granted, there'd be trouble. The two men stood looking at one another, while the children watched them and held their breath. Then Sir Robert abruptly opened a drawer, took out a roll of canvas, and threw it on the desk. Mr. Dodd took it over to the window, where he placed it for all to see. "Dear me, seems to have aged considerably since last I saw it," he said. "Or some fool of a servant leaned it against a radiator, cracked the paint. An extremely hot radiator. Curious. Can't seem to see my name on it. A copy by Benjamin Dodd. Perhaps that flaked off in the heat, too. I'll see it on again, Dodd. I suppose you want your credit, like anybody else. You can leave it to me." Mr. Dodd, Kevin, and Emily stood waiting at the bus stop. They heard the sound of a horse approaching, and Oliver appeared in front of them. "I did it! I did it!" he shouted triumphantly, his face alight with excitement. "Kev, I did it!" "Yeah, well done, Ollie. You were splendid," said Kevin. "Come and see me. We'll go riding together. You too, Emily. Goodbye." He turned and cantered away as the three of them climbed into the bus. Emily sat back in her seat. She remembered Kevin's mother had said, "They'll grow apart. They won't mean to, but they will." It's the way of the world. Out loud, she said, "We'll change the world." Her father looked at her in surprise. "That's a big ambition," he said, smiling. Then he thought for a moment and said quietly, "I wish you luck. Goodbye."